Hello and welcome to Silks in the City's first ever video. So this way of speaking to you feels a little bit odd, and speaking of odd and addressing the massive elephant in the room, we are in the middle, or maybe only at the beginning, of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, and it's a scary, surreal and uncertain time for the entire world. And the last week or so, I've been struggling with the idea of working or studying towards anything that I feel doesn't directly contribute to the fight against COVID-19, or feel as important as our health and the health of our communities is. However, I've realised it's important during this time of fear and uncertainty that we do continue to further our futures, and that keeping ourselves constructively and healthily occupied and connected is really, really beneficial. It helps create a sense of purpose and normality and hope during these times. I also recognise that a lot of you watching will be feeling a lot, now and also in the months to come, and that studying in a new way, as everything moves online, obviously we're incredibly lucky in the countries that we live in. If you're watching this, then you definitely have internet, that everything can move online, that we have the technology and the facilities and the support, and the ability to be taught online. But we're not used to that. We're not used to not sitting in a classroom with our peers, with our friends, with our teachers, being taught in that more personal, engaged and engaging way. And that maybe this new way of learning is adding to the stress and uncertainty and some of the anxiety. So with that in mind, I thought I might be able to help a little bit by creating a few videos where I take you through how I'm navigating studying for the LPC, although this applies to whatever you're studying, in this new normal, new abnormal normal, and that way hopefully you might feel less alone. You can learn from my inevitable mistakes, and we can figure things out together, and we can build a community and have some conversations virtually. Obviously we're not in person socialising, so this might be a good way to virtually help each other through this. So, talking of getting through this, today is Saturday the 21st of March 2020. My online teaching at my university starts on Monday, so that's 2 days' time. I'm a little bit behind already, which isn't good. I had some paid work to do that I finished yesterday, Friday the 20th. So this weekend I need to get sorted and prepped for Monday. So today I need to organise my notes. I have got, if I move my critical cup of tea, I have got stacks of learning knowledge that's got to go in here. I've also got to go into folders just so that I have everything in one place, divided up neatly, so that I have a more tidy mind. So I've got to file my notes, figure out what I've got to do next. Also, I this morning, with my breakfast, created a colour-coded spreadsheet. Regular readers among you will know that I love a colour-coded spreadsheet, just for scheduling my time, adding in exercise and social time. Obviously that all looks a little bit different now, but I will talk to you a bit more about how my schedule looks And I've also got to prep 2 workshops. So we call them on the LPC small group sessions or SGSs, and this will be the time, our classroom time. Obviously those will all be delivered online now. We're going to be using a system called Microsoft Teams. It is not a system I've ever used before. I'm pretty sure it's not a system that you will have used before, so I also need to figure that out this weekend, and I'll be filming that. So that's my to-do list for today, and without further ado I should probably get cracking. So I will be checking in with you regularly over the next few days and probably weeks. Right, so it's Monday the 23rd of March now, so 2 days later, and I managed to get everything done over the weekend that I needed to, and I've prepped for my SGSs. I've got 2 today, Media and Entertainment Law and Advanced Commercial Litigation. They're almost back to back, so I think I have about 15 minutes in between today over lunchtime. So I've prepped my lunch already this morning and got some snacks, got water, got tea, got all my notes out in front of me, got my laptop, and I'm logged into Microsoft Teams. So I spent about 10 minutes this morning just familiarising myself with Microsoft Teams. It looks fairly self-explanatory and pretty user-friendly, but I obviously haven't logged into my small group sessions yet. I have 4 hours today, starting at in about an hour. So I will update you after the small group sessions, but I have a feeling it's going to be quite an interesting experience for all of us, including the teacher. So obviously this is the first time for everybody. So I will see you in a few hours. Hello, so I'm back. It is now late afternoon on Monday, so I have finished my SGSs, my workshops for today. I finished class for today, and I thought I would quickly check in with you and just tell you about my experience, some pros, some cons, and some tips that I have noted down during today. So to start with, I'll start with the positives. The pros that I could think of were, well, the main one is we're still being taught. We still get access to the same information, the same teachers, which is brilliant. And the second pro is that you can eat snacks really easily while your workshops are going on. I love food. Food is life, literally and figuratively, for me. And I always used to feel a little bit guilty if I got peckish during the 2-hour sessions. If I ate anything, I thought it was a little bit distracting or disrespectful. But now you can have your banana cake, you can have your snack bar, you can have your smoothie, and keep fueled and not distract anyone. So that's my pro. So the cons, I would say, with online, and these are hopefully constructive cons. There is obviously going to be a lack of interactivity. Just the nature of the system doesn't really allow you to in real time share so much information and have that social learning. I would say it was especially my second workshop was much more interactive. People spoke a lot more, people used the chat function, and there was a little bit more back and forth, and you did feel like you were learning together. Unfortunately, the way the LPC is taught, it is very practical, it's very hands-on, it's very group learning orientated during your small group sessions, and obviously you can't really do that. There isn't functionality, or we're not being taught kind of in pairs in your small group session, which you'd normally team up and work on something together and then present to the class or do something like that. So you unfortunately lose that kind of learning. So there will be a lot more solo, and you're having to be a little bit more self-sufficient. So I think in that sense, there was a disconnected feeling for me. You need to be strict with yourself to avoid distractions. So not looking at your phone, maybe turning on airplane mode and minimising any kind of external distractions as well, people coming in and out of the room or looking out the window. And it's currently a beautiful day in London, so there is some distraction to look out and enjoy the blue sky through a window, but still enjoy it. We're all feeling our way. The tutors are also feeling their way as well. There were a few technical issues. The flow was a little bit stilted at times, I think, because people are still navigating the system, figuring out how things work. But I would say overall, I was really quite impressed by how much thought our tutors had gone to think about, right, this is the way that I would have done it in the classroom, but I'm going to have to adapt. And there were a lot of extra people on both of my workshops. I think they've doubled the size of the classes. They asked us for feedback. I've given my feedback. I think it's going to be a developing system. But I think the main thing is that we're still being taught. We're still getting that knowledge. We're still making progress and working towards our goals. I do have a few tips. So the first and the most important one, I think, I've had a few friends comment, message me since we've finished our sessions, those that I knew in the class. People not muting their microphones. The first thing you should be doing is muting your microphone. There was someone yawning at the beginning of one of my sessions, and it was really, you could hear, and who's speaking or yawning. Someone had, I think, TV on in the background. You could hear that at a few points. So obviously you're unmuting your microphone when you're speaking, but making sure that you mute it the rest of the time. There's no need we're not asked to use our webcams, which is, I guess, good. But also then you're not actually aware of who you're in a class with. The chat function is really useful. Obviously, I guess some tutors will prefer you to use the chat function over speaking. Sometimes if you have a question, one of my tutors said, could you write that you have a question rather than just jumping in? The other actually preferred you to kind of jump in and not use the chat function. So I guess it's just seeing what they prefer and how you prefer to use it. But that was really useful, using the chat function. I would also say, unless you're really lucky and you have two computer screens, two monitors, it's quite difficult to jump from your typed notes, if you type your notes, or any online or digital copies that you have of textbooks or notes or legislation. I would suggest that you have a notepad and a pen by you to take notes or to work on exercises, because it's quite difficult on one screen to jump from Microsoft Teams to another easily. You might miss something. It's quite distracting. So I had, I won't show you what I've written because it's scribbly. I've got, a pen, my firm's pen, very loyal, and a pad. And then I've got my casebook, my materials, all of the hard copy stuff, as well as my and then my laptop, just mainly for Microsoft Teams. And then I think I'll transfer stuff, and that's also, I guess, a good way to consolidate. I'd also say wear normal clothes and don't study in bed if possible. I was speaking to one of my friends just before this morning's first session, and he was saying it was really odd because he was in bed in his trackies and his pajamas, whereas I this morning tried to think, right, what would I what would I do, what would I wear, how would I act if I was going into university, and that's I've dressed. Obviously I'm also on camera today, so I was aware of that, but I know that a lot of my friends who work and who are now obviously working from home have said the same thing. They've tried to dress as they would do at work and approach their work in that way, so that they feel they're ready to face the day externally as well as internally. So another one is people were finding their microphones weren't working, so if they did have something to say or they had a question, they couldn't actually speak on Teams. So maybe before you start your Teams session, just test your microphone. There are ways that you can do test calls and test videos, so that's probably another really big tip. And then the last tip that I have is, so we're provided, the way it works for us is we're provided a link within our Microsoft Outlook calendar that's a link to the session. I would suggest you only log into that link, you only use that link maybe like 5-10 minutes before your session starts, not like an hour plus before your session starts. We had someone accidentally join in the middle of our session and then had a little bit of a panic that they shouldn't be there, and I think the tutor was a little bit kind of confused what was going on. So one of my tips is just logging in just before you actually need to, not an hour or so before, because I think the way the system works is it's kind of an open system and you log in as and when you need. So those are the pros, cons and tips from today's sessions. As it's the first week back, I have only 3 classes actually this week. So the rest of this week, after tomorrow, I'm going to be trying to just get back into the rhythm of studying. I made my colour-coded spreadsheet on Saturday, along with a banana cake, which is calling my name right now. So I'm going to just get back into the routine of studying. What I will do is I will check in with you and probably finish this video in a few days and just update you as to how things go. But until then, I'll see you. Bye bye. Hello, welcome back. So it's now Saturday the 28th of March, so fast forward a few days and we've made it. It's the end of the week, so we've had a full week now of, hopefully we've all had a full week of online learning, so I thought it'd be a good time to wrap up this video, give a few final thoughts and then just tell you what you can expect in the next few weeks or maybe months from Silks in the City. So just a quick wrap up. This week, for those who were studying the LPC, although I'm trying to make this as generic and generally applicable as possible, but just to give some context, this week for people who started the LPC full-time in September of last year, we've actually only had half the online classes that we would have had in person. Normally, so next week we will have double the amount that we had this week, and that is because before this week we were actually in exam and assessment mode, so we were in revision central exam prep. Obviously most of those exams did not go ahead quite rightly under the circumstances, so we were supposed to be having exams at the Excel Centre, which is now being used for quite a different purpose than an exam centre or an exhibition centre. So we had been, the reason I say that is we had been, those of us in that cohort had been out of our like normal routine for quite some time, for quite a few weeks. So I think this week has really just been trying to get back into that study mindset rather than a revision mindset. I personally have found it a little bit difficult. I haven't found my routine yet. And that was one of the things I wanted to really underline in this section of the video, is that I've realised that routine is going to be essential for all of us. I've spoken to so many friends and family who are now doing their jobs working from home, some who are sadly no longer able to work. They've either lost their jobs or have had their jobs dramatically changed due to the pandemic. I've also spoken to student friends of mine as well, and the common theme is let's get a routine established, and that probably that will take a couple of weeks, but that way we'll stay sane and we'll stay productive and focused and happy and connected. So I think I've fallen I've fallen into the trap of not establishing a proper routine. I think it would have been difficult anyway to get back into that study mindset after being more focused on revision. But the coming week, I will be, as of Monday, that's always the way, isn't it? It's always, I'll start on Monday, but I am going to start on Monday. From Monday onwards, I will be establishing a routine. I don't want it to be concrete and set in stone and really strict, but I do want there to be some structure to my days, making sure that I'm exercising. I have been exercising every day, if not a couple of times a day actually. But I think in terms of that work mindset, that needs to be a little bit more, a bit more routine. So I was thinking what I would do is I would document or film either a day or a week, so that you can see how I'm structuring my work time, and that might hopefully give you some guidance as to how you can structure yours. I did actually ask a few of my student friends for some of their pros, cons and tips, so leading on from the last part that you will have just seen, and a bunch of them got back to me. I mean, the main themes of mine were repeated, but one of my friends actually herself ran an online seminar, and she said from her point of view, so this is from a teacher's point of view, she said that she found there was difficulty with silences, waiting for replies, so people not engaging. So I think that's a really big thing to think about, is it can be quite nerve-wracking even in person in classes to put your hand up and try and guess an answer or contribute. It can be quite exposing, but I think you need to treat your online sessions exactly as you would your classroom-based sessions, and try and contribute and have that discussion, and don't be afraid to look a little bit stupid or to say the wrong thing, or I think it's really important that there is that engagement from us as students and also for the tutors. One of my other friends, actually, that was her tip. She said, even though you're not there in person, try to contribute in the chat and answer questions. So I think common themes from both sides, both the people running the seminars and the people who are learning from the seminars. A big pro is pyjamas. Another big pro is you can be wrapped up in a cosy sweater and a blanket with your cup of tea. I have one on the go here, as per usual. So I think those are common themes. I definitely didn't stick to my let's get dressed every day as you would if you were going outside. I did laps. I'll hold my hands up to that. But I think that's okay. You've got to be comfortable. There are also important things that my friend said, and I've already mentioned, is taking some breaks, getting some exercise in, chatting to your friends, go for a walk or do some stretches, depending on what your current state of lockdown is where you are. In London, we're still allowed to leave the house if we don't have coronavirus, but obviously only with members of your household or alone. So I think that's really important, is getting that little bit of headspace. So that kind of wraps up this section of the video, and I hope it was helpful. I hope that your kind of enjoying the online experience as much as possible. I think the really important thing to hold on to is that we're still getting that knowledge. We're still having access to all this incredible information, and we're very lucky that we can do that. Obviously there will be teething problems, and it's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but we're still kind of in it to win it. So for me, the big takeaways are routine going forward, and I will be filming a video about that. I'm going to write all of the tips and tricks down below this video so you can see at a glance, and you don't have to watch hopefully what will not be a 30-minute video to get the information. But until next time, I will see you soon. Take care, stay safe.